This is the BMW M4, and as we're all familiar, it's the sultry two-door version of the M3, a car synonymous with BMW itself. But importantly, this M4 here marks the entry of the second generation of M4 and the sixth generation of M3, so it's kind of a big deal. Under the hood, things don't change a huge amount, still 6 cylinders in a straight line and still twin scroll turbo. However, there's more to an M car than just a motor. And it's quick, but it's also got to be able to do this. And it's got to be able to do this. And it does all of those very well. It's no surprise that the M4 is a scalpel of precision performance. After all, this is the no-nonsense competition, which means you can't even get a manual even if you want, because us silly humans aren't as smart or as fast as a computer. However, it's not like you can't have any fun with this thing. But you can still kind of slide this thing around if you really want to. Oh, okay, like that. Which brings me to my main point. We said this is the competition, which means it's an automatic. And it also means that you can have an M4, M3 first, and that's all-wheel drive if you really want it. So no manual, auto only, all-wheel drive. Does that mean BMW doesn't want you to have any fun? Of course not. You don't have to spec all-wheel drive, and even if you do, you can turn it off, and BMW has programmed a little game in here. It's called the Drift Analyzer. But if you want the quickest M3, M4 that BMW's ever made, this is it. It's right there in the name, competition. That suggests it's supposed to accelerate the quickest, corner the hardest, and brake the shortest. And that's what it does. Under the hood, you have the M Division's S58 engine spewing out 503 horsepower and 479 pound-feet. That's more than you get in the manual-only base M4. From there, you'll get BMW's optimally tuned ZF 8-speed gearbox, which will send power to the rear limited slip differential, and coming next year, to all 4 wheels if you want. All of this means 0 to 60 is done in 3.8 seconds. But again, power isn't everything, especially for an M car. You get electronically controlled adaptive dampers, you get carbon ceramic brakes, and you get an additional cooling system and stickier tires. All of that's simply to say that this thing is fast as hell, power comes on really low, revs all the way up, transmission is quick, sharp, responsive, braking is confident, solid, you've got carbon ceramics so you don't get fade, turn-in is good, you don't get a huge amount of feedback from the wheel, but the directness is there, the sharpness is there, it feels good in your hand, and the chassis is super well balanced. This thing is a riot, but let's say you have slightly different tastes.
Let's say you don't want a scalpel, you want a sledgehammer. You might want something like this. This is a Mustang Mach 1, and essentially what that means is it sits right between the GT and the Halo GT500. Now when we say it's a replacement for the GT350, that doesn't just mean it has a new name for marketing to milk. It means no more flat plane Voodoo engine. The Mach 1 gets the Coyote motor that's also in the GT. And that means a 5-liter. That means no turbos, just a V8. And the sound is incredible. Now, the Mustang has always kind of been all about the engine, and while it is a great engine, we're talking about going up against an M car, so what else do we have? This thing is track ready and focused. All Mach 1s come with additional underbody ducting to cool the brakes, along with engine and transmission cooling upgrades, and the rear axle cooling borrowed from the GT500. We also have a Tremec transmission either way you want it, in the auto with the 10-speed that we're familiar with. But the terrible Getrag manual in the GT is replaced by a Tremec 6-speed manual, so now you can get the manual and not lose 50 horsepower. The auto rev matching is also pretty nice, but you can turn it off if you'd like. Power still only goes to the back, and you have a limited slip, which means 0 to 60 in about 4.3 seconds. So it's not going to be as quick as a BMW, but you still get to roll your own gears while you're engulfed in this V8 noise, and that has to count for something. You also have the ability to do no-lift shifts, which basically means that you can stay at full throttle while you're upshifting. But while this is a pony car, the Mustang isn't just about the motor. The handling package that we have here actually produces 150% more downforce than the GT. The Mach 1 has magnetic adaptive suspension that's bolted to the same incredible subframe as the outgoing GT350. The chassis is planted and the Brembos ensure you have confidence as you head into a corner entry. Around mid-corner, you'll be thankful for the Michelin Cup 2 tires and their excellent grip as you get onto the throttle and power through a corner exit. Turn in and you'll notice the improved feel and precision of the Mach 1 steering compared to the GTs, courtesy of the stiffer intermediate shaft in the steering column and retuned electric power steering. So what that means is that you have an incredibly capable and high-performing Mustang, one that perfectly fits between the GT and the 500. But is it enough to put it against the M4? Let's meet up with Matt and discuss.
What'd you think? Mach 1.
I enjoyed it a lot. It's definitely track ready. What do you think of this thing?
Do you miss not having the flat plane crank?
I do. It definitely doesn't sound as good, but it's track focused. What do you think of the M4?
I mean, it's really buttoned down. Like this is so precise. It's so sharp, and I'm very interested to see how these play off together. So let's do a swap.
Let's swap keys here,
and let's see how it goes.
Yes, the M4 is quicker around the track and it's more buttoned up, but it's lacking the sound, the manual, and the engagement that comes with the Mach 1. And for those reasons, I lean towards the Mustang.
I think Paulo's right. And after a go in the Mach 1, it's a much more theatrical car, but not at the expense of control. The brakes are there, and the tires really set it apart. However, the M4 is stupid fast, and unlike the Mustang, you arrive at your limit and the car's limit extremely quickly. The sound and brutality of the Mach 1 speaks to me, but the M4 is ultimately the one I would take home and put in my garage. And for almost double the price, it really should be.